Final from CPA as undefeated FRA is undefeated no more, and they are now 8-1 on the season. Good evening, I'm Joe Hunk. This is Friday Night Finals as we are going to be recapping the next to last week of the regular season. Next week is it, and then we begin playoff play here in the state of Tennessee. But we mentioned it here at the start of the show. Friday Night Finals, 104.5 The Zone was out at FRA and CPA, and tonight CPA comes out with a 24-7 victory and making it where FRA is no longer undefeated, and they are now remaining on the road to finish up the regular season. Coming up tonight during Friday Night Finals, we're going to be joined by Tate Matthews, who is at the CPA FRA game. We are going to be joined by Sammy Kincaid when she wraps up her duties with My TV 30, as right now Lipscomb Academy is up on Brentwood Academy 24-10. CJ Ecke tonight was over with Liberty Creek as well, so he'll be talking to us about that as we go along. We had some scores that we updated you on in the halftime of our FRA and CPA game. During that and coming into tonight, one thing that we talked about and we had been talking about for the last few weeks is how many important games were happening here in Middle Tennessee involving teams that were either undefeated and or were ranked number 1 and number 2 in their respective regions, including FRA and CPA. We'll talk more about Rossview and Clarksville. That wrapped up just a little while ago. Oakland and Ravenwood was not a matchup of region opponents, but both teams came into that game with only one loss. You had Centennial and Page going at it, which both of those teams were undefeated in their region, as well as Stone Memorial and Upperman, both of those coming in as they were undefeated in the region as well. So a lot of games that have a lot of meaning when it comes to seeding in the state playoffs coming up here in just a couple of weeks. Now, every single Friday night, whenever we begin Friday Night Finals, Zone TV is live. It is good for you to go. You can hop in on the F&M Bank chat to let us know what your high schools did across Middle Tennessee. And yes, because we are starting to get to playoff, getting closer to the playoffs, then West Tennessee as well as East Tennessee matter in this as well because of the way seeding and matchups are going to be taking place in the playoffs. So if you are watching on Zone TV, throw down with those updates from those scores that we are getting, because there's still some games that we are looking for scores throughout the Middle Tennessee area, like Steven just did to let me know that Maryville defeated Alcoa tonight 24-21 over in Blount County. But before we get to the recap of everything that happened tonight with this CPA FRA matchup that took place, it was seriously, we've been looking forward to for weeks. And we're going to talk to Tate Matthews about this, depending on which way you're on. Was this sloppy play? Was this fantastic defense? What was going on? We'll talk to Tate about that in just a little bit. Preds Nation 88 watching on Twitch. He let us know that Gallatin defeated Springfield tonight 17-7. And while we are at it, let's get Reed to go ahead, fire up the band, and let's go ahead and get around Middle Tennessee and kind of see what some of these scores are with some of these teams. As Beach defeated Hunters Lane tonight, 44-9. That game is over with. Friendship Christian all over Ezel Harding, 41-0. In Lebanon, you had Columbia Academy, 62. Mount Juliet Christian, nothing, as that game wrapped up fairly quickly tonight over Mount Juliet. Smyrna and Antioch, that was a matchup. And in fact, Smyrna getting the win tonight in that one, winning 30-26. And they wrapping up the 6A Region 5 championship with that victory. You also had Stewart's Creek tonight defeating Laverne 21-0. Nolensville picking up a close win over Summit tonight, 17-14. Riverdale defeated Siegel 49-7 over in the Borough. It is now a final down in Spring Hill as Tullahoma got a 29-7 victory. Adam on Facebook lets us know that Blackman lost tonight 22-27 to Rockville as Rockville picks up the dub. You also had Eagleville winning tonight at home 33-0 over Richland. John letting us know on YouTube, yes, that is where he is watching, that Macon County defeated Watertown tonight 35-0. And even adds into that sets up a big matchup for the second seed or the number 2 seed against Stone Memorial next week. East Nashville had no problem winning their game tonight 45-0. It was Brentwood over Independence tonight 28-0. You also had Franklin winning tonight 21-7 over Mount Juliet. And CPA, as we wrap up this portion of Friday Night Finals and some of our scores around Middle Tennessee, our game that we had right here on 104.5 The Zone, CPA defeated FRA 24-7. As a lot of people are getting in on that F&M Bank chat right there on Zone TV, you can as well. You can get us those. We have Twitter/X pulled up that you can get those in by shooting us a tweet at 104.5 The Zone or at myself at Joe Hunk. But when we come back here in just a few moments, we're going to recap CPA's big win over FRA, as FRA is now no longer undefeated, 8-1, as is CPA, as we go into the last week of the regular season. You've got a score for us, 715, that was way off, 615-737-1045. That's the correct number. Let's try that when we come back again. This is Friday Night Finals on 104.5 The Zone. Friday Night Finals going strong here on 104.5 The Zone. If you've got a score update for us, 615-737-1045 is how you get in tonight. Our man Reed across the board, he is getting our highlights ready for the FRA CPA game that just wrapped up here on 1045 The Zone as we are getting closer and closer to playoff time. As this is week 10, we only go to week 11, and then it is high school playoff time in the state of Tennessee. I mentioned just a little while ago, Zone TV is going as well. The F&M Bank chat is alive and well as Jeremy is letting us know that DeKalb County defeated White County tonight 35-20. We've been getting tweets all night as well about the big matchup happening in Clarksville as you had a massive matchup between Clarksville as well as Rossview Rossview. And look, I'm not going to lie to you. There was a period of time in this where Clarksville was kind of letting me down. Nothing against Rossview. I'm just saying Clarksville was letting me down. Every single week we talk about how many points Clarksville puts up on teams. Their defense is amazing, but we've also talked a lot about how great their offense is. And so for this game to be 7-7 at the half, I was kind of disappointed in it because I was expecting a bigger score in that. At the end of the game, though, Clarksville then threw up 21 straight points to win that one, 28-7, and to clinch 6A Region 7 and be undefeated as they go into the final week of the regular season. Two-Tone Blue has been following on Twitter/X and sending us updates on that. So we appreciate that. So no matter where you are tonight, you can give us your updates, whether it is on the phone or on social media with that one. As Reed is taking some of your phone calls, we're going to be getting to some of these highlights of the game that happened between FRA and CPA, because not only was this matchup important because of both of these teams being undefeated in region play as we're getting closer and closer trying to figure out who was going to be the one seed and the 2 seed. You also had a CPA that has dominated this series for a period of time, going all the way back to like 1993 when they had won like 17 games straight between 98 and 2021. This was a matchup of teams where last year's game was a 39-38 shootout. Will Bowling talked about it on the broadcast. We had talked about it at halftime. We kind of expected that. But at the half really was not the case. In fact, going into this ball game, one person that we had talked about, and you'd heard Will and Lucas talking about in pregame, that CPA was going to have to pay attention to was running back Ty Clark. Coming into the ball game, he was almost at 1,200 rushing yards and had 21 touchdowns so far this season. He would get this whole thing going for FRA as they got the football in the first quarter, and then they handed it off to Ty Clark.
Clark in the backfield, gets the give again with a head of steam, skips over the goal line and tumbles into it for a touchdown.
So FRA takes the lead 7-0 in this one. Going into the very next drive, we thought CPA needed to answer with something, and they did big time when they handed the football off to Rawls Patterson.
Takes the shotgun snap. The give is to Patterson. Has room left side across midfield 40. 35-30. He is all alone at the 20, the 15, the 10, 5. Touchdown CPA.
CPA and FRA go to the half tied at 7. It wasn't that they just went to the half tied at 7. They also had missed opportunity after missed opportunity. There were 4 turnovers in the first half. There were missed field goals by both teams in the first half. There were opportunities for both of these teams to put up a ton of points, and I can guarantee you right now FRA is thinking about this as they are packing up and they are getting ready to leave CPA. But during the second half, in the third quarter, FRA has the football, and in doing so, they are driving down the field, and unfortunately, something happens that actually happened to them a lot tonight.
The snap, steps up in the pocket, throws a dart over the middle of the field, it's intercepted. Jackson Matthews coming back the other way at the 45, across midfield. Matthews down the right sideline, 35-30, and he runs out of bounds into the near side, and the CPA bench.
So tied at 7, still tied at 7 in the third quarter. That interception leads to this.
This is a 35-yarder, and he drills it.
I don't care how casual Lucas sounded about that. That was actually the first of 4 field goals attempts that actually went in. So that was a big deal that field goal went in. FRA gets the football back. Again, they're driving down. It gets into even the fourth quarter with this one. And then once again, FRA makes yet another mistake.
In his shotgun stance, Clark, the running back behind him, fakes the give to Clark, rolling right, under pressure, Kennard just throws it away, it's picked off. Picked off at midfield, running right to left at the 35-30. Down the left sideline and tackled inside the 25-yard line is Steele Chance.
And that interception would do this is once again, Rawls Patterson with the football basically puts a nail in this thing.
Law in the shotgun, takes the snap, the handoff, right side is for Patterson, has a hole up the middle, breaks through it, untouched into the end zone.
Look, I don't care what you just heard from that play call in this. Go find this play on social media. There's a lot of people that have tweeted out the view of this. This was a beautiful play design by CPA to get Patterson the football in this. He goes into the end zone untouched, up 17-7 in the ball game. Late in the fourth quarter, again, FRA once again trying to drive down and trying to score. They do not do so, and then CPA gets the football back, and in this time, not inside the red zone, not from the 1-yard line, Cruz Law finishes it off for CPA.
At the Wildcat, the 29 of FRA, and he takes off to his right, still on his feet, 20, 15, 10, 5, end zone, touchdown CPA.
And we're going to talk to Tate Matthews here in just a little bit, but the one question that we're going to talk about was the usage of Ty Clark in this one with FRA. He did have a 1-yard touchdown in this, but if you go back and you look at the way that Ty Clark has played over the last 3 weeks, against East Nashville in Week 6, he had over 145 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Against Davidson Academy, he had over 176 yards rushing. Last week against BGA, he had over 217 yards. He also had 3 touchdowns in this, 86 yards receiving. CPA shut him down tonight in this. Obviously, a lot of that had to do with the play calls that CPA made that then had to put FRA in a situation where they were having to pass the football a lot more than what they truly intended to do. But your final score from CPA, 24-7, CPA picking up that victory, as FRA now goes to 8-1 on the season, 4-1 in region play, and they will wrap up the regular season, as will CPA next week. When we come back, continue with your highlights, continue with your updates from around Middle Tennessee. Tate Matthews will join us. Sammy Kincaid is going to join us. CJ Ecke is going to join us as well. This is Friday Night Finals on 104.5 The Zone. We need to go on top of our Cumulus Broadcasting building, and we need to fire up and put the flame down and just fire the beacons out, because I need information on one of the games that just wrapped up, because I'm looking at scores, and I even had Reed have to go over and update me on this to make sure that I was reading this properly. And I will get to what I'm talking about in just a few seconds, as we're going to be joined by Tate Matthews here in just a little bit to recap that CPA FRA game. But if you're just getting into your car because your game is wrapping up and you turn on 104.5 The Zone, welcome into Friday Night Finals. I am Joe Hunk. You can follow me on Twitter /X at Joe Hunk. You can also follow us on 104.5 The Zone. Shoot us your scores there. The F&M Bank chat is wide open for you because Zone TV is going as well. And you can get your score updates there, no matter if it's Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter /X. You can send them in at the moment. Now, before we get to Tate Matthews, I'm going to get Reed to fire up the band as we go through some of these scores from around Middle Tennessee tonight, because one of these scores we're going to have to go in depth about. But Cornersville tonight, I also need an update on this, because coming into tonight, Cornersville running back Ben Franklin, yes, that is his name, had already rushed for 300 yards in back-to-back games. Now, they didn't play last week, but they came in tonight and they defeated Huntland 42-7. I need an update on if Ben Franklin rushed for yet another 300 yards. So, if you remember Cornersville, let us know. Stewart's Creek tonight got a 21-0 victory over Laverne. It was Franklin County over Lawrence County, 31-30 in a tight ball game there. Liberty Creek defeated Maplewood 49-20. CJ Ecke was at that ball game. He will be joining us here in just a little while as well as a recap of that one. Mount Pleasant got a 35-21 victory over Hickman County. Pearl Cone, if it hadn't have been for what I just found out a few seconds ago, Pearl Cone could have been the biggest disappointment for me tonight. And I'm not talking about like them losing, because they won tonight and they scored 48 points. It's the fact that Pearl Cone gave up 6 points to White House. You had 3 games straight of not allowing a point, and you let White House score 6 points. Nothing against White House. I'm just saying Pearl Cone had a streak going, and White House ended that streak at 3 games, but Pearl Cone did pick up the victory to stay undefeated. Tullahoma tonight beat Spring Hill 29-7. Lewis County picked up a 43-3 victory over Summertown tonight, and Marshall County defeated Whites Creek 60-18 in their ball game tonight as well. You also have other games going around Middle Tennessee tonight, as Friendship Christian got a big win over Ezel Harding as they moved and got another win to go up and to win 41-0. I totally butchered that entire score update, but basically what you need to know is Friendship Christian won 41-0. Got some updates on our phone lines at 615-737-1045, as we've had calls in about Nashville Christian picking up a 56-12 win tonight over Clarksville Academy. Cheatham County beat Stewart's Creek tonight 56-7 in that one. Baylor defeated MBA tonight 35-0. Station Camp won tonight 44-7 over Montgomery Central. And then here's this one, because look, there are things that we plan, okay? Not talking to you, Surrey, but there's some things that we plan, okay? There's things that we talk about during the week that we say, hey, look, if some of these things happen next week, let's go ahead and start planning ahead. Let's start talking about this, okay? So that we have something prepared. Maybe it's a montage. Maybe it's some cool music. Maybe it's the fact that we just want to celebrate you, okay? What we didn't expect tonight, because we were planning on this potentially happening next week, is the fact that I would get a phone call tonight, as Reed is sitting over there taking calls right now, as I would get a phone call and say, hey, Mount Juliet lost tonight. Okay, Mount Juliet was undefeated. They lost tonight. Cool. What was the score? It was 21-7. Okay, that sucks. Who did they play again? They played Franklin. Franklin, congratulations. You won your very first game since September of 2021. You've unfortunately had to let your coach go. Brand new coach comes in, and you pick up your very first win of the season, and now you go play Overton next week. I'm not saying anything bad about Overton. I'm just saying that there was a game that we had circled that we thought that Franklin may end this streak against. We thought it would be Overton. We didn't expect Franklin to come in tonight and to beat Mount Juliet 21-7. That's why I said that we need to fire up the beacons, because I know that this was a non-region game for Mount Juliet and Franklin. I know that this was a game that obviously Mount Juliet is getting ready to take on Green Hill in the Mayor's Cup next week, so I know that they were not saying they were totally focused on that, but I just need to know what happened in this ball game, okay? We weren't expecting this. We weren't expecting all this stuff to happen right then, so we just said, wait a second. 21-7, Franklin picks up the victory. I just kind of need to know what happens for Franklin to end this massive streak that they were on. So, with that being said, somebody from Franklin High, give us a call. I want to hear this update on this game, because 21-7 isn't good enough for us tonight. I need to know how you won and why you won to end this losing streak. That being said, let's also talk to our girl, Sammy Kincaid, who was on the call tonight. She was on the field for Brentwood Academy and Lipscomb Academy in this one. And Sammy, how is it going tonight?
You know, Hunk, I'm a little upset with you right now. You
Why?
bring me on after you just mentioned over and over and over how my hometown team, they just got upset. Wow, I was not expecting that 21-7 score. I would like to know what happened as well. Even though I didn't go to Mount Juliet, was raised there. So really surprised by that one.
No, and that's why I asked the question, because we weren't fully prepared for Franklin on this. Not saying that they didn't think that they could win a ball game, but we weren't expecting them to beat an undefeated Mount Juliet team tonight. We were preparing for everything for next week when they were taking on Overton. We thought that might be the week that they pick up a dub.
No, exactly right. That is very surprising. Good for them, though, that they were able to get it done against a really, really good Mount Juliet team. I mean, you end up dropping some that you sometimes I know that they're going to wish they had that one back at Mount Juliet, but sometimes you never know how things are going to go whenever you line up. And, I mean, this one tonight with Lipscomb and Brentwood Academy, we knew this one was going to be a great game. You have so many playmakers on both sides of the ball, and it ended up coming down to an onside kick there at the very end. Brentwood Academy was really making a push, but Lipscomb really stayed ahead of it the entire time, going up first 7-0 after a huge 75-yard run. It was very explosive. It was a one-handed grab by Cam Blivens. And then one thing that Coach Mawe was saying to me was that he really wanted to see his team be a little bit more disciplined. And so right out the gate, they got a sideline warning. And that was something that you really saw that his team got control after that. And they didn't get any more sideline warnings or the personal fouls. And that's something that Coach was really happy about. But both teams also being very aggressive, going on it on fourth down. I can't even tell you how many times both of these teams went for it on fourth down. It was really impressive just how you could tell both teams were really playing tonight to play for something. They are catching a lot of slack right now just because of their records. But as I was saying on the morning show, don't let their records fool you. Brentwood Academy now may be 1-8, where Lipscomb Academy is now 4-5. But those records, those games are a whole lot closer and a whole lot better than what their records are saying.
Well, and with this one, you were talking about the score and how this came down to a last second or an onside kick at the very end, because Brentwood Academy scored at the very end of that ball game. But with Lipscomb Academy, what did Kevin Mawai talk about at half with you? Because we were watching the game and saw the halftime interview you were doing with him. What did he say about this one, even though it was extremely close in the first half going into the second half, what he was wanting Lipscomb Academy to do?
Yeah, I mean, I pointed out, hey, you're getting things done, but he, of course, is going to point out what he saw was not happening, because that's what he has to address with his team at halftime. And so he was upset about a couple of the big plays that defense really gave up in that first half, and they came out ready to play in that second half. And just being able to do what they did defensively in the second half, whenever you have players like Edwin Spillman, he ended up going down in the first half. Him and London Baronis for Brentwood Academy got hurt on the same play, and they both did not return to action. And so whenever you have a player like Edwin Spillman, who is the leader of this team, going into this game, Coach was talking to me about how Spillman is the guy. That is who is the leader of this team, and he had a deep bruise in his right quad, and that's something that was re-aggravated after he got that last week, and so they did not let him return to the game, just more precautionary, as they want to be able to use him later in the season during the playoffs. But whenever you have guys like that going down and the defense is still able to step up the way they did in the second half, I mean, they had a critical interception there at the end of the game, and they really played lights out in all three phases, though.
So now you had this Lipscomb Academy win tonight over Brentwood Academy. We've only got one game left in the regular season. Where are you guys heading next week?
You know, I've been sitting on the edge of my seat for this one because this is the 1 week that was not announced to even the crew until this past week, and we have Ravenwood at Brentwood. I am pumped. We have Brentwood at the very beginning of the season, week 1. So excited to have them again and excited to have Ravenwood.
Well, I'm just going to let you know that as you've been talking, I know that you are in your car driving home. We have some people on the line that's going to kind of let us know how Mount Juliet lost tonight. So I'm not saying that I'm just going to let you know as you're listening that you're going to hear about this because we've kind of been, I want to know how this happened. So when I hang up with you, I've got a couple of listeners on that are wanting to talk about this. So just kind of a heads up, okay? Just prepare yourself.
Thank you for preparing me so that I can make sure I'm prepared. I'll still drive safe. While I listen to what happened.
Well, and I know you need to drive safe because tomorrow morning you also get up early. You've got some 104.5 The Zone duties. What should we expect tomorrow morning from you?
Well, there's some content that's going to come out tomorrow.
There
is
fantastic.
Yes. So you can be checking out social media. I can't wait to post. We got some pretty good content coming out about. Also you're talking about the main thing that I do on Saturday morning.
Yes.
Is my radio show, Hunk. I got too many things going on right after a game. Yes, my radio show, Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid, every single Saturday morning from 7 to 8 in the morning. And I am absolutely thrilled to have on Star Physical Therapy in the morning. We're going to be talking a little bit different than usual. So usually we talk about the female athlete compared to the male athlete, but I think that everyone will be able to relate specifically tomorrow. So really excited about that. And, of course, we're going to talk some third Saturday in October. I mean, What else is there to talk about?
There's nothing because, Titans aren't really good right now, so that's exactly what we need to be talking about, just to let you know. So, all right, have a safe trip home. Just letting you know what we're about to do right when we hang out with you, and we will talk to you next week, okay?
Sounds great. Thanks, Hunk.
All right, thank you. Now, I did say I wanted to know how Franklin upset Mount Juliet tonight. In fact, let's head out and talk about this one. Todd, welcome into Friday Night Finals. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I was told that you want to give us an update on how Franklin upset Mount Juliet tonight.
Franklin's defense came to play tonight. 3 interceptions, had a fumble recovery, and after Mount Juliet went down the first series of the game and scored a touchdown, just really did a good job of shutting them down and eliminated opportunities and capitalized on a couple of things on offense and came through the victory they've been needing for a long time.
Well, and we talked about it, and I said it jokingly, but I mean, seriously, it's been since September 2021 since this team won a football game, and they pick up this win tonight. Not just any win; it was over an undefeated football team. In this, I know that the Franklin program has been through a lot over the last few weeks. But how has some of those changes that benefited the team to prepare them for that game tonight against Mount Juliet?
I don't know that there's one thing in particular, but I can tell you that those kids on that football team come to play every week. There's not a game that you could point to at any time in these last 2+ seasons that they didn't come out to play every single game. The student body shows up every week, and the celebration you saw after the game, well, the celebration that happened after the game, was very, I think for everybody that was on the Franklin side, it felt really good to see the players and the students just be able to celebrate a victory and something that, it's hard to say you ever deserve it, but they've worked their rear ends off, that football team has, and they earned it tonight. It wasn't a fluke. They came out and they won that game.
Well, look, I appreciate you calling in because I know that I needed to know this answer because this is a fantastic victory for this Franklin program because, again, we is all kind of looking at the schedule going, all right, there's a game Franklin's going to win. We thought it would be potentially against Overton next week. we had already chalked this one up as a loss. I'm not even going to act like we thought there'd be a chance for Franklin in it. So for them to win tonight in the way they did, that victory celebration that they had, just, congratulations to everybody over there. And I appreciate you calling in and updating us on this one, Todd.
I appreciate you talking about it. Thank you very much.
Hey, no problem. Thank you so much. Now, when we come back on Friday Night Finals, I asked about Ben Franklin and the fact that he had back-to-back 300-yard rushing games. Wanted to know what he did tonight. His dad is actually called in. We've got him. Our man C.J. Ecky's calling in. Even though Chris Bozen and Ravenwood has lost, he is on the line ready to talk. And sitting across from me right now, the wonderful, the amazing Jonathan Schaefer, as well, as he was on the call for Pearl Cone tonight. We'll talk to him. This is Friday Night Finals on 104.5 The Zone. About 40, actually, it's a little bit more. It's about 40 minutes remaining in our Friday Night Finals tonight here on 104.5 The Zone. Week 10. Next week is the final week of the regular season, and then we get into playoff action throughout the state of Tennessee here in just a moment, because now we're the big time. We have in-studio guests that are here. We've already talked about how somehow, and I'm not joking, there are literally people texting us right now going, I'm sorry, did you say that Franklin defeated Mount Juliet? Yes, Franklin, the team that had not won since September of 2021, defeated an undefeated Mount Juliet team tonight to win their first game of the regular season, and now they go in over to play Overton next week. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. We have more score updates for you as some games, actually, a lot of the games are wrapping up. But one thing that we talked about here tonight is, and at the beginning of this, was about how there is a running back right now that plays for Cornersville. And so far this season, in fact, the past couple of games, he'd already rushed for over 300 yards in back-to-back games. Tonight, Cornersville defeated Huntland 42-7. And I said, look, I need to know if Ben Franklin had another 300-yard rushing game. I'm not just getting the source as far as like a coach or a play-by-play guy or anything like that. We're joined right now by Ben Franklin's dad as he joins us on 104.5 The Zone and Friday Night Finals. And first off, before we talk about your son, sir, I just appreciate you listening and calling in tonight.
Well, I got a good buddy, man, that listens in from Lewisburg, Clint Posey. He gave me a call and said, hey, man, call this number, man. They're asking about Ben. They're asking about Ben. And I said, give me the number, man. I call him. What's up? What's the worst that could happen? And here we are.
Well, there's nothing that can happen when your team wins by like 45 points. Like, you can't really say that something's bad's going to happen when you call the number. But no, but I was just saying, like, we were talking about how well your son's been running the ball the past couple of weeks. Like, what is he seeing when he gets at home and you guys are talking about the game and all of that? When he's sitting and he's back in the backfield, what's he visualizing in this and seeing these holes open up to have back-to-back 300-yard rushing games?
Well, it all starts with the offensive line, of course. That's pretty obvious, but the offensive line has been clicking. So by the time he gets to the second level, all he's got to do is turn on the jet, and he's off to the races, man. And he's a fast kid. Being 6'4", 245. He's probably running about a 4.5 right now, 40 in a game situation, man. I don't know. It's probably a 4.4 is better than that, man. I've seen him smoke guys, you know what I'm saying, that, you know, he's fast. He's fast for his size. And he's having a really good year. He's got his eyes set on 2,000 yards. He didn't get 300 tonight. We're coming off an off week. We was kind of not clicking on all cylinders. We still got it done, but, you know, coming from a week, I think that kind of hurts a little bit as far as our synchronicity with our offense, if you can understand that. So I'm thinking that he's right now, he probably got 10 carries right now tonight, probably about 150 yards.
Oh, just 150. Yeah, just 150.
Just 150.
Just 150. I mean, he's looking at a good 750 over the last 3 weeks. No big deal. No big deal, sir. Now let me go back to one thing you mentioned, because as people are driving around tonight, you mentioned this just casually. How much did you say he weighed?
He's 245. He might be around 250 right now.
Oh, okay, 250. And how tall did you say he was?
6'4".
Okay, do you know that Derrick Henry is only 6'3" and weighs 245?
Yeah, there's a lot of comparisons of being to Derrick Henry, and it's not far-fetched either. They're basically the same size. The only fact is Derrick Henry's 30 and Ben is 17.
So your 17-year-old is as big as Derrick Henry is running in the backfield for Cornersville. So, like,
yeah,
you see how I'm having to repeat this because of how it sounds, right?
Yeah, and I know it sounds far-fetched, but seeing is believing. You can follow him on Twitter, man, see his highlights, man. Ben is the real deal, man. And we coming straight out of Cornwall, Tennessee. A lot of people said it couldn't be done. That's Ben's motivation to show the world, man, hey, just because you're in a small town, man, football is football.
Well, look, I know you guys are going to be getting ready for the playoffs coming up. I know that Ben has a game at Eaglesville next week as well. And look, I'm telling you, I appreciate you calling in. I want you to call next week. Let us know what Ben does next week. Because, again, we're talking about a guy that has literally already or is getting close to having 1,000 yards rushing in 4 games. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about. It's amazing to hear. And I just appreciate your friend listening and you calling in tonight, just going, screw it. Let's see what happens.
All right, man. That's what's up, man. I appreciate you reaching out, man. And go Bulldogs, baby.
Hey, man, have a good one tonight, sir, and enjoy that victory. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, have a good one. All right.
He's 6'4", 250, and he's running in the backfield for Cornersville. Are you serious? Good heavens. All right, we're going to that. And look, the person joining me next before we get to more of our updates and Jonathan Schaefer sitting in here as Chris Bozen joins us. Look, he calls every single week that Ravenwood plays. We've been talking about this. We kind of joked about the superstition with this. But, Chris, I'm going to give you props tonight because I know you guys didn't beat Oakland, but you still called in, man, and I appreciate that.
hey, we got a good thing going on now, right? You said I was like a correspondent, so I wasn't going to leave you hanging.
No, I did. But see, here's the other thing that was really funny about this is I'm sitting in Reed's the guy taking all of our phone calls, and he's doing a tremendous job getting highlights, taking phone calls, getting score updates, everything. He's working on stuff for me right now on Zone TV. And at the whole time I said, he goes, wait, what's that Oakland Ravenwood score? And I was like, yeah, Oakland's kind of winning this one. He goes, he didn't call in last week. And I was like, no, he didn't call in last week. Like, Chris, I know you were on a bye week, but we had the superstition thing going.
Well, I didn't even know. I didn't even think. I guess I could have called in to talk about that. You're probably right. I'll have to take this one on me. Look, you're right. 42-18. But, this game started in the first 6 minutes. Raptors were up 12-0.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was one reason I wanted to really call in. They got it going. They won the toss, deferred, forced a 3-and-out, and senior Gavin Napier-Kowski blocked a punt from the 24-yard line and took it back for 6 himself. And Jacob Taylor, the punter for Oakland, he's one of the top kickers in the state. So that's how it started for Ravenwood. Then they come back. They go, after the touchdown, they go onside kick and recover it.
Oh, wow.
So Ravenwood came out ready to play, and it special teams, defense going well. They couldn't score after the onside kick, but they turned over on downs, and then Jalen Pollard steps in front of a Creasy pass with an interception, takes it inside the 10-yard line, and sets the Raptors up 1st and goal from there. There's a penalty on 1st down, and then Davis Dolan, the touchdown. Both the extra points were missed, one on a bad bobbled snap, one a missed wide right. So it was 12-0 at that point. But from there, the rest of the half, Oakland went on 4 consecutive touchdown drives, and the Raptors had to punt 4 times. Ravenwood only had 2 first downs in the first half. And so it was 28-12 at the break. Winds up being a final score, but Napier-Kowski added an interception in the second half. So he's got the interception, he's got the punt block, and look, this kid is 6'1", 185 pounds, multi-sport athlete. Dad played Division I college football. He needs to be on a college football team. I know he's had some visits around, but he's kind of been overlooked, and that happens in Williamson County a little bit with there being so much talent. Gavin Napier-Kowski, defensive back, senior. You need to come watch him, and next week will be a very good week to do it. Battle of the Woods, 7-2 Ravenwood. I think that school across the interstate's 9-0, but this one will determine the region champion and home field all the way to the state championship game.
No, you're absolutely right. They are 9-0, and they are 4-0 in region. You guys are 4-0 in region. I know you're coming into this one 7-2 after the loss tonight, but how important is that region championship when you're talking about now? Next week is going to determine the entire bracket for the playoffs.
Yeah, so Coach Hester, we always have him live on the sideline talking to the team, and you could hear the emotion in his voice. It's important, he said, because it's them. It doesn't matter. If Ravenwood was winless on the season, it wouldn't matter. And he said it's 365 days. And so he said, come early for practice, come early to the game. He's excited about it, and quite frankly, they were glad to get out of this game healthy. I think both Oakland and Ravenwood wanted to get out healthy. You didn't see a whole lot out of the playbook in this one.
Yep.
And I think they were wanting to get to those big region showdowns next week.
Well, the one thing I'm going to say is that you said something that I think a lot of people in the state of Tennessee are going to be saying around 2:30 tomorrow is this one's not only important, but it's important because it's them. And I think that's something. It's them. It is them. So, yeah.
That's it. And have you experienced the Battle of the Woods?
I have not experienced the Battle of the Woods yet. I have not.
It's unlike. I mean, I went to a small college, Battle of the Ravine in Arkansas between Ouachita and Henderson State. They're right across the highway from each other. The visiting team walks to the road game across the interstate. The troopers shut it down. It's a huge rivalry. And I've never, the Battle of the Woods, I mean, it's going to be jam-packed. The bands will be there. The fans will be there. It'll be loud. It's an incredible atmosphere. And, hey, one more thing, because I know you got a lot of guests coming up still. Yeah. Congratulations to Franklin.
Yes.
I told you 2 weeks ago when I talked, Brewer Wilson is the real deal at quarterback. They've got a great player in Lucas Young. And so I knew there were wins coming, but man, to get one tonight the way they did, that is impressive.
Well, no, and I think I think you and I talked a few weeks ago because you guys did play them at the beginning of October, and you said it, and there's other people that have said this, and if you pay attention as these games are going along, they lose, but every single game they've been right in it, and they've been playing hard this whole time. And you just heard one of the parents from Franklin calling in talking about that exact same thing. Is like these kids play hard, and
100%.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in the game. I mean, against us, they score a touchdown late, they kick it onside, they recover it, they get another touchdown. They don't go away, and they keep coming at you. And like I said, I mean, Brewer Wilson last week took a couple of big shots. He was sacked, hit hard, and he just stands in the pocket, delivers good footballs. That, kudos to them because they've stuck with it, and it's just good to see those kids pick up a victory.
No, absolutely. And Chris, we appreciate it, man. I know you guys got the Battle of the Woods next week. And again, you called in this week. We keep the tradition going next week, man. We'll talk to you then and kind of see what happens between 7-2 Ravenwood and undefeated Brentwood.
It's going to be a good one, man. Thanks so much. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you next week and on into the playoffs.
Absolutely, Chris. We appreciate it, man. And then that being said, as we continue throughout the night tonight, I'm sitting here. Reed and I are in this studio. We've been doing this for about roughly 8 weeks because there was 1 week that we took off because of the Titans playing a preseason game on Friday night. And look, him and I have kind of gotten used to the fact that we're the only ones in the building. There's nobody else that's here except for some friends over on 103.3, and we're just basically kind of here by ourselves. So I'm talking to Reed, and we're getting everything ready. Then the next thing over the corner of my ear, I hear this door swing open. And I'm not going to lie. I know it's October. I know that I get scared very easily, but this scares the living out of me. And I look to my left, and it's Jonathan Schaefer, and he's now sitting directly across from me. Schaefer, how's it going, bud?
I'm doing well. I was at Pearl Cone, so I figured, instead of making a phone call, I'll just make a 6-minute drive over and visit my friends here on Friday Night Finals. And, yeah, an interesting night across the state. You mentioned the Franklin victory over Mount Juliet. I watched Pearl Cone just do what Pearl Cone does, which included actually they gave up a touchdown, which they don't do very often, and which snapped a 4-game shutout streak that they had. But really some interesting scores tonight. You're going to have some region championships and playoff seeding decided next week. And the weather, again, fantastic. Maybe the best weather we've had for high school football this late in the year in a long time. So here we go.
No, and we've talked about throughout the past couple of weeks, I kept saying, this week 10 of the regular season, there are so many good football games that are going to be happening here. But you mentioned one, and as much as now a lot of us have talked about the fact that Franklin won tonight because we went, wait a second, they really won? Like, it doesn't matter who else won tonight. The fact that Franklin defeated Mount Juliet tonight is absolutely amazing. And you and I are sitting here, and I'm not kidding. The other thing that kind of made me sad was Pearl Cone gave up a score.
Well, I can tell you exactly
what the heck happened.
I can tell you exactly what happened was that Pearl Cone had backups in at that point. There were still some White House starters in, busted coverage, play action over the top touchdown, and White House was able to get on the board. Now, with that said, Pearl Cone went a month without giving up a single point.
No.
They went a month.
It's kind of crazy to think about.
It really is, and they only gave up 6 here tonight. This Pearl Cone squad, I've had a chance to see Pearl Cone quite a bit over the years, and they really are one of the top programs in Metro and have been. It's amazing what they did last year along with East Nashville, both schools making it to a state final, the first time ever that Nashville had 2 Metro schools in state finals in the same season. Pearl Cone, I had a chance to call that game against Anderson County, one of the really good Blue Cross Bowl games in Chattanooga last year. This Pearl Cone team is even better than the one last year, and had a chance to talk to their starting quarterback, Eshawn Tarleton, after the game. He was just 9 of 11 for 192 yards and 4 touchdowns. But one of the questions I asked him, I said, has the goal since losing the game last year been the state championship? He said, that's the only goal.
Well, and you mentioned how well this team has played. I mean, not only did they score 56 tonight, they've scored 35, they scored 49 against Montgomery Central, they've scored 61.
Well, look at how they started the season. They were at MBA and at CPA and beat them both. And they're a 4A school.
Wow.
So they have been incredibly impressive. And maybe one of the most athletic teams from start to finish I've ever seen. They can beat you any way you want to be beaten between a balanced running game. Their quarterback in Tarleton, who's got to be a finalist for Mr. Football with the type of season that he's having, throws as nice of a back corner end zone fade as I've seen. This team is outstanding. Now, granted, the region they're in terms of competition, maybe not the strongest, but Pearl Cone just doesn't go out there and win. They go out and dominate. They are very, very impressive.
No, and next week you were just talking about that because next week they play Marshall County.
Yeah,
and in that one, Marshall County's undefeated in region play. They're 8-1 overall. And in fact, as we're kind of giving some scores right now, Marshall County defeated Whites Creek tonight 60-18. You had Station Camp winning tonight over Montgomery Central 44-7, and then Greenbrier beating Creekwood 21-10. But then there's that Pearl Cone. So you're talking about a Marshall County team that threw up 60 tonight and Pearl Cone that threw up 56.
And that'll be Pearl Cone's toughest test they've had in about 6 weeks. That'll be their toughest test that they have. Should be a good game, but to slow Pearl Cone down, you're just going to have to outscore them. You're going to have to outgun them because not only are they outstanding on offense, as I mentioned, that defense didn't give up a point for over a month. And only gave up 6 here tonight.
Well, and what's crazy is if I took off the names, you know how sometimes on ESPN they'll do like the blind team test of, which team is which team. If I didn't tell you which one was Pearl Cone and which one was Marshall County, and I said 58-6, 41-0, 41-6, 37-0. It might, outside of the fact that you knew that they hadn't given up a score in 4 weeks, you would have thought, wait, which one is that?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good point. Yeah, it really is.
That's exactly what you could be seeing next week with Pearl Cone.
You heard earlier, you got Ravenwood, Brentwood coming up next week. I've had a chance to be a part of that rivalry at times over the years.
Yes.
It's really good. You'll get 5,000 or 6,000 people down there for the game. It'll be outstanding. Good to see Brentwood having the type of season that they're having. And we've seen over the past couple of decades the power shift between Williamson County and Rutherford County in terms of who's got the better football. And right now, when you look at both of them, of course, Oakland is going out and doing Oakland things. I had a chance to call their first game of the season. It is a good time to be a high school football fan in Middle Tennessee.
No, and there are so many games, and I know that we kind of circled this week, but even next week now, because of some of the games and all the games that have wrapped up, just like, again, we've talked about Pearl Cone, Marshall County is going to be a game that we're definitely going to be paying attention to next week because of that. And you just mentioned the Battle of the Woods. Like now, I'm kind of getting even more excited about this, and we still have like 6 days remaining. I mean, I'm kind of getting more and more excited. We still have Alabama, Tennessee tomorrow that we got to go through. We've got a whole week of getting ready for the Titans rocking the Oilers uniforms to talk about. And then we get to next Friday night, which is the last games of the regular season. And then we get the Battle of the Woods. Did you really say 5,000 to 6,000 people?
I've seen that
Seriously?
before. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you count the people in the stands and then the people ringing around the field, I've seen probably about 5,000 to 6,000 over the years.
Well, I will tell you that just in the last few minutes that you've been sitting here, I know that you just kind of randomly rolled in, and there are people that are on the F&M Bank chat right now that are absolutely loving the fact that you hopped in. Zach, Uncle Bob has hopped in. A lot of these. There's apparently a guy on the phone that would like to talk to you that I have no clue who he is.
I don't know.
And
either.
being this is a high school football show, I'm kind of nervous about this. But
You should be.
let's have some fun, shall we? Let's just go to some anonymous caller. Welcome into Friday Night Finals. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Who is this?
Hey, Shafe. This is Dan from Gallatin. I used to call you every damn morning, and you made my night.
What's going on, Dan?
Being on the radio. I miss you so much. I miss you a lot.
Well,
a lot.
It's not about me, but I appreciate that. Thank you, Dan.
No, it is about you, man. You're the best producer in the world. Now, come on.
Thank you, Dan. Just making a cameo appearance tonight.
All right. Hey, stop by twice daily in Gallatin. I'm over there on Coles Ferry and Airport Road.
Might do it on the way home.
Not tonight. I'm home listening to you. I am so glad.
I thought maybe
you
were
better
at work.
make more cameos. And hey, go on in the morning every once in a while.
I can't do that because I'm busy in the morning.
Yeah, it's kind of a conflict of interest. He's on our sister
All
station.
right, I'm going to try to
I
call
appreciate
you,
it.
Shape.
Dan. Thank you.
Shape, you're awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thanks for that, Dan.
It's funny because I never let Dan on the air, and he got to be on the air tonight.
He did,
so,
and every single time that you put him on hold, doesn't he say, "Aye, aye, my captain"? Is that the same guy?
No.
It's a different guy.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Anyway, Slay is now in the F&M Bank
my
chat.
guy.
Yeah, my guy. We've got tons of people that are hopping in with Schaefer as he's hopped in randomly. And Slay literally put inside the F&M Bank chat the best producer in the world.
Well, he came up
I'm
with it.
sitting here.
He came up with it.
I'm sitting here.
Yeah, him and Ramon came up with it.
Screw you. We'll be back on Friday Night Finals. Go to break, Reed, please. Just a few minutes left on Friday night's finals. Welcome in as you are leaving your game and getting home, getting ready to. Some of you may actually be on the road and already heading down to Tuscaloosa, getting ready for Alabama and Tennessee. Pregame begins at 12:30 tomorrow here on 104.5 The Zone. Not in the morning. That would be very early. We're talking about in the afternoon at 12:30 p.m. and kickoff is at 2:30 p.m. here on 104.5 The Zone. The F&M Bank chat is still open. You can also shoot us a tweet at 104.5 The Zone as well as at Joe Hunk, and Jonathan Schaefer's hanging out with us for the next little bit. And in fact, before we get to Eki, let's go through some scores here in a little bit because as we've been sitting here talking in the studio, Schaefer was like the rest of us kind of surprised about what Franklin did tonight. So let's see about some other scores and kind of get some reactions on those as well. As Reed hit that music, let's go ahead and talk about it. Innsworth tonight picked up a 21-12 victory tonight over Briarcrest Christian. You also had Columbia Academy beating Mount Juliet Christian tonight 62-0. Davidson Academy got a big 54-10 win tonight. They get ready to play CPA. A CPA picked up a big win over FRA tonight. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Nashville Christian beat Clarksville Academy tonight 56-12. You had Baylor defeating MBA 35-0 tonight in that one as we continue to get ready for the final week of the regular season. Page and Centennial, both of these teams came into the game undefeated in region play, and now Page is still undefeated in region play as they won tonight 24-12. Nolensville picked up a big 17-14 victory over Summit tonight, and Overton gets a win over Stratford 14-8 in that one. The other game that took place tonight that we are going to be talking about here in just a few seconds with our man CJ Eki was Liberty Creek and Maplewood tonight. Liberty Creek came into this one 500, trying to get over that and trying to get ready for that next week's game as they get ready. And at the moment, they hold the tiebreaker over Stratford in their region. But CJ Eki was on the call for that one. He joins us right now, man. CJ, how did it go tonight over at Liberty Creek?
All right, so before I go into that, I have never in my life seen a high school as nice as Liberty Creek, one of the most beautiful campuses that I have ever been on. And I was reminded that it's really cool to be in Sumner County.
No, I'm looking at the pictures of it right now after you mention it, and that is an absolutely beautiful stadium.
Oh, absolutely. It's like sitting on top of a hill. I had a look of the school from my view of the press box as the sun was setting. It was really nice. But if you're a fan of Liberty Creek and you're a supporter of the Liberty Creek Wolves, tonight was a good night for you. And it really started because of a flea. And what happens when you have a flea on you? And that's how the scoring opened this tonight. In the first quarter, Kyle Farmer took a flea flicker pass from quarterback Brian Rager into the end zone to open the scoring 7-0. And they were all from there. 2 Matt Tuggle touchdown runs made it 21-0 in the second quarter. Maplewood was able to get on the board because of a 79-yard kickoff return for a touchdown by Danny Edmonds that made it 21-8. They scored on a 2-point conversion. And to me, this was the play of the night and the play that really just rest of the game in Liberty Creek's favor. Dylan Parrott catching a pass over the middle, stopping, getting hit by a defender. He takes the defender and literally throws him off, and then runs 26 yards for the touchdown to make it 29-8 at the half. And from that point on, it was all Liberty Creek. Brian Rager added a 69-yard touchdown run. 69-yard run that set up an 11-yard touchdown that he scored later. And coming into today, Brian Rager, the starting quarterback, 10 yards off of Matt Tuggle, the starting running back, his pace for total rushing yards. So you had a guy who's a true dual threat, and he made it known on that run and then eventually scored to make it 36-8. And from that point on, even though Maplewood was able to add a couple of scores late, it was all Liberty Creek. 49-20 is the final score. They beat Maplewood. And because of their win tonight, they have guaranteed themselves at least one home playoff game in the Class 3A playoffs going forward. So it was good vibes all around for and all the supporters in the Wolf Den.
Well, I will tell you that for the first 10 seconds of that, I had no clue what you were talking about with a flea. So I appreciate you explaining that to us. See,
I watched
I was on camera and I was laughing so hard because I'm just going, what is he talking about with a flea? And you flick it, and I'm just like, what is he saying? And then finally you started breaking it down, and I went, oh, he meant flea flicker. Okay, I'm on board with this now. Now I know what he's talking about.
too many. I watch too many YouTube videos, man. That's just what it is.
It's okay. Eki, I love you, man. We appreciate it, bro. Thanks for calling in late tonight and talking about that Liberty Creek win.
No problem. One more thing before I go.
Yes.
If you're a fan of Maplewood, though it has been a tough season, you still have an opportunity to make the playoffs. You have to beat Republic next week to get in even with a 1-9 record. It's something that I personally have never been able to understand, but it is there for Maplewood, so don't fret. You have an opportunity to get into the playoffs if you beat Republic next Friday. So on that note, hey, we got one more week of this.
We do.
It flew by. Like
it absolutely has, Eki, and it's actually crazy to think that if Maplewood beats Republic next week, they could be 1-9 and be in the playoffs. That's kind of wild.
My rational brain can't really process that, but because if that was the case, then the team that I played on at Blackman High School in 2005, we should have had an opportunity to make the playoffs, even though we went 0-10. But look, I mean, I'm not salty about that or anything.
No, it's okay. We appreciate it. In fact, you've led us into something that we're about to talk to Tate Matthews about, man. So we appreciate it, Eki.
Hey, no problem, man.
All right. Thank you, sir.
See you down the road.
All right, have a good one, man. And again, Tate Matthews joins us right now. He was at the CPA game, but
by the way, before you get to Tate,
yes,
it took him so long to tell that analogy that Franklin won a second time tonight.
Tate, did you know that Franklin won tonight?
I did, man. That's huge. And not only did they win, they beat an undefeated Mount Juliet team. So, you heard all year long, all the opposing coaches would say after the game, and it wasn't just lip service, this is a really good football team, man. And you knew they were going to get one sooner or later. And really happy for Coach Webb, who filled in as the interim head coach. I'm really happy for those kids. But they would be the first one to tell you, man, this is on the back of the hard work that Coach Melton did the last few years as the head coach there. So really happy for that school and then for those kids especially. But he was a big part of that, man.
Well, and Tate, the question that we've kind of had with this was, Franklin, again, we talked about how they, had to swap coaches and, a couple of weeks ago, and you were just talking about it a second ago, but what does that do for a team that has to go through this, even in high school? We hear about it in the pros and in, college a lot, but for a high school team to, their coach, steps down and then they have to have a brand new coach in this, how does that happen and what are those players going through?
Well, it's tough, but, I've never been a coach, but I've got a lot of good friends that are and are good ones. And so what they'll all tell you is they were devastated, man. But kids are resilient, and they usually get back, get over it and get on with it, the next day. So they trusted Coach Webb. The coaching staff trusted Coach Webb because there's not a finer guy than him. But, the season must go on, right? And again, they're kids. So it's tough, but they get over it or they get back to work and move on. And so I promise you, Coach Melton was in their thoughts tonight after this win. But huge. Hey, they got a pair of wide receivers in Lucas Young and Wills Jackson that anybody would want, Brewer Wilson. So they got a lot of weapons, man. Just really cool to get them. To see them finally get this one. And then, again, it just goes to show you, man, the competition that they play, that schedule was no joke, man. They were so close in so many of them. So, yeah, great win.
And
very cool.
We only have a couple of minutes left, but one reason we wanted to really get you on was to talk about the CPA victory. And, I feel bad for saying that this was an ugly game, but Tate, there was a lot of turnovers in this ball game. And I mean, timely turnovers in the end zone and things like that. This FRA team hasn't played like this all season. What did CPA do to cause a lot of these turnovers?
Well, FRA's unbeaten for a reason. They're a really good team, really good offense. But To be fair, I'm biased, but I don't think that's this. They haven't seen a defense like CPA's defense. I think CPA has a really, really good defense, and a lot of those were forced. So, yeah, there were a lot of turnovers. There were 5 interceptions. 5 different players made them, but the CPA defense had a lot to do with them forcing them. Steel Chance had an interception from his linebacker position, and he doesn't get that pick if Eli Dickey from his defensive end position didn't create the pressure on him and was hanging on Logan Kennard, who, by the way, every time I watch him play the FRA quarterback, I'm very impressed with him, man. He's a heck of a competitor. So they were forced, but Andre Evans had an interception. Leroy Harris had an interception. Ian McGargy from his defensive line position had an interception. Steel Chance had one, and Jackson had one. So, the CPA defense played lights out.
All right, I know we only got a few seconds left. You got Performance Therapy Institute. We always got to thank those guys for every single Saturday morning with you. What should everybody expect tomorrow morning real fast as you get ready for your show to recap all of this high school action?
We'll have the scorers and top performers, and then Coach Ingle Martin will join us, and then Coach Clint Finch of Brentwood will join us. So they're 9-0, as you all talked about earlier, the battle. And by the way, another time, Hunk, it's Battle of the Wood. It's not Wood.
Sorry, my
Battle
bad.
of the Wood. No.
I added an S.
No. There's a big debate about it, but I'm very passionate about this. It's the Battle of Brentwood. Okay, anyways.
Thank you. Yeah, there's no S. Battle of the Wood.
Coach Finch will Darren Jones and I argue about this a lot. But anyways, Coach Finch will join us tomorrow, and then, as always, Tom Krager of the Tennesseans. So,
all right.
Coach Martin, Coach Finch, and Tom Krager.
Well, we appreciate it, Tate. We'll be watching and listening tomorrow, man. Thank you so much for hopping on so late with us.
All right, Hunk.
All right, have a good one. Thank you so much. Tomorrow, make sure you get ready as Tate Matthews gets going, Sammy Kincaid's before all that. Schaefer, I appreciate it, bro.
Oh, very happy to make a little cameo tonight with you.
I appreciate that. And make sure, don't forget, 12:30, Vol Network takes over Alabama, Tennessee, right here on 104.5 The Zone.